Now let's take a look at the second game, which I played on a different day. So this was a game on a different day. I played this one yesterday, and we're facing an opponent who is about 1650-ish. Also, he's from Ireland, which you guys may have noticed that my username is Irish Surfer 22. I'm not actually from Ireland, but my dad's side of the family is. So you may have gathered that from my last name, which is O'Connell. But I am a surfer, so that was I made that username a very long time ago, back in high school, kind of as a joke, because it's kind of like, you wouldn't imagine that people in Ireland surf, but actually there are some really good spots there that are world famous. Anyways, back to the game. Okay, we have a queen pawn. So I decided to go for a King's Indian setup in this game, which is defined by pretty much this position here. Usually white is going to take 3 pawns in the center with the knight supporting, and we have this pawn formation with the fianchettoed bishop, and we're going to castle. That's pretty much what defines King's Indian defense. The main break in the King's Indian is pawn to e5. The idea in general with this is it's kind of like a hyper modern opening where we're kind of giving white central control in the early game with the plan to eventually try to chip away at it later on with either e5 or c5. So here I'm just trying to find a good square for my knight. And part of the reason I played the move pawn to a5 was to prevent moves like b4 once the knight eventually comes here. And here I was starting to feel very awkward. And in general, I find this often happens in my King's Indian games, that my position becomes awkward and cramped. But I realized that white was actually threatening to win a pawn here. So why don't you guys pause and see what's white's... Well, actually, I don't know if that's quite true. They're threatening to, like, let's say I do just a normal move. If they take and I take, this pawn is no longer defended. However, there's this common tactic, which I forgot a minute ago when I was saying they win a pawn, that you can actually often take here, which, yeah, the computer says this is good, and then that unleashes this bishop. So actually, I guess I was fine. But in the game, I was worried about this, and I forgot about this tactic. So I decided to play pawn to b6, so that if white captures, I could capture with the pawn this way. In retrospect, that does seem inaccurate, but yeah, I was feeling kind of stuck at this point in the game. So white is now threatening to win this pawn, and a very common way to stop this in the King's Indian is to just step up. I think I looked at this. The computer says knight here, but I mean, this was kind of sketchy. Then, yeah, you can go like... Well, actually, I don't even know. This seems really sketchy. Aren't they winning a pawn? I guess they're winning a pawn, but maybe our king is safer now. I don't know. Seems bad. So yeah, I think king h7 from a human perspective makes sense here, and you're defending this. But now white makes a very aggressive move, pawn to g4, and they're coming to break down my king. And also, I was hoping, this was, I think, a very good move by them, because I was hoping to go knight h5 on my next move, and then maybe play f5, and then go knight f4. This is a very common idea in the King's Indian. You're going to move this knight somewhere, and then play f4 to try to open the f-file for the rook and get an attack on white's king. However, in this position, I guess maybe because white hasn't castled yet, my plan was perhaps a tad flawed. I'm not sure. I need to learn more about King's Indian games in general. I think openings are probably my weakest component of my game right now, so I'm trying to figure out how to address that. If you guys have any tips for me on openings, let me know down below. But yeah, now I need an alternate plan. So I did consider the sacrifice here, and if takes, takes. We might have some pressure here, but the thing is, white can then castle queenside, and then all of a sudden, like, move their rook over, and they just have like so much pressure, and my king is super sketch. It just felt really bad. So I decided I want to try to get my attack going on like this side of the board while somehow just parrying the threats here. And you could take here, which I guess the computer says is the best. But then the problem is like either... Actually, yeah, knight can come in with check. And this is a really dangerous knight long term. I mean, I guess so long as I have this knight here defending, I'm okay. But oftentimes this queen can magically make it to this square. And then there's really dangerous mating threats. But I mean, I guess this knight can also go like to h5. So I don't know. Maybe I was more scared of this than I should have been. So instead, I decided to go knight back with the idea that once they take, I can recapture. Now in this position, I was feeling really stuck and like I really just didn't know what to do. I don't like playing f4 here anymore because oftentimes I find in King's Indian, if this bishop is pointed at your king, it's pretty risky to play f4 because yes, you're opening up the f file for your rook, but you're also opening up this diagonal for their bishop. So I didn't like that, but so I had to try to find another way to like mobilize my pieces and make progress. So I decided to give away a pawn here, which the computer says was a mistake, but I feel like positionally it might have actually been, or from a human standpoint, actually I think it makes sense. And I really liked this move in the game. Because it also, so if they take, the idea here is if they take, then I'm just going to go queen here and win this pawn back anyways. I don't think they have a way to prevent me from nabbing it. So I'm not truly like giving it up. And then once my queen is here, I really want to facilitate this push. I want to try to open up the position so that my rooks can come attack white's king, since their king is vulnerable, but currently not because the position is closed. So that's why I need to exploit the vulnerability by opening the position. But they didn't take the pawn, so they decided to castle, and this was my secondary plan with this pawn push, which was to aid b5, because if we look back here, I can't play this right away. They can just take, and they have too much support. So yeah, that was my idea with this, which I actually thought was pretty brilliant. Let me know down in the comments, was this a good idea or not so good? Because now I get in b5. Pawn takes. But then here, I realized I sort of had problems, I think. Oh yeah, I played pawn takes. Oh yeah, the problem is white's knight was going to come in. So I really wanted to play queen here to win this pawn. But you can't do that because then you run out of time and they recapture. And now this pawn is solidified and we're just like in super big trouble. So I had to recapture this way first. But this allows white's knight to come in to d5, and all of a sudden the squares that I would access to grab this pawn are not available. Although I just realized maybe I could have gone queen c8. So maybe it's, oh no, yeah, you can't. You also can't go queen c8 here because of knight b6 with the fork on the king and the queen. So I realized I was going to have to do something like rook over at some point while avoiding this fork. So it's very dicey. So, you know, it is a little problematic, but yeah, play continues. So after I took, they actually didn't go for knight d5 right away. They went for knight takes, exploiting the fact that my pawn is pinned. But this was actually a bit of a mistake. I didn't see this in the game, but there was a fork here to simply win the knight. But instead, I decided to go rook b8, so when this knight comes in, that I can play rook c8 and then maybe win this pawn. But here, after the knight comes in, I think this was a bit of an inaccuracy by white. What do you guys play here now as black? So we can actually take this knight now. And you have to be really careful because after we take, which was the best move, there's still this discovery. So, you know, knight can come and check. Are they going to win our queen? You have to really look carefully here and see if there are any good knight jumps. But the thing is, all the checks are covered by my queen. So if they go check, I can just take, and my queen is out of danger. So from here, play continues. And white found the nice fork, which I also missed at this point in the game. But now I found, I thought, okay, I have this check at least, so maybe I can check and then I can move my rook. But after this move, they have another tempo on my queen, so I have to take, and then they recapture. And I recapture. And I have a really nice threat in this position that's also been lingering the last couple moves that you may have noticed. So white played h4, which got rid of my threat. So the threat was pawn to f3, check, potentially scooping up the queen. Although I just realized, I guess they can block. So maybe it wasn't as strong of a threat as I thought. But play continues. And here I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm mounting like a pretty good attack, but it's hard to figure out how to break through. You could potentially go like push, and I don't know though, because like if they take with either piece, like maybe white's solid, the queen defends here. It's like somehow white is like still okay. So it's very hard to figure out how to make progress. And I decided in this moment, it's time for this knight to deliver a really strong check here. If the king sidesteps, then we have rook takes b2, which seems pretty devastating. Actually, yeah, it is totally devastating because after this, what do you guys play now? Queen takes f3, or sorry, c3. And we have this discovery on the king. Can they go like, maybe they can go queen here or something. Oh, and then we have a savage mate in 2 here. Check, double check. So king has to move. Checkmate. So that would have been a huge blunder, game ender right there. So they have to take. And now we recapture with a super strong advanced pawn that can't be captured because our bishop is defending it and they don't have a minor piece to challenge this. The knight has awkward spacing with it, so it's going to take several moves if they want to try to like reroute this knight in order to take this pawn. And now in this position, I still didn't really see the finish. I think I considered rook check here and they take, but I didn't see the follow-up. And so I felt like I need to improve the position of my knight here. I felt like this piece is just totally not in the game. And yeah, I need to fix that. So rook g8, sorry, knight g8. And this is also a theme in the book Reassess Your Chess that I've been reading. In the first chapter, he talks about rerouting the knights, and often sometimes you have to bring it back to the back rank to do that. And I actually like this move by white, although the engine seems to hate it. But it seems like it's just totally busting through. I mean, if we take, we're losing our queen, actually. Check. So that's a problem. And then if you take, they take. So you can't take. But also if you do nothing, like if you just sidestep, now this file is open, seems very dangerous. So the only move here that I think is viable, and the computer agrees, which is what I played in the game, pawn to g5. Because now we keep the position as closed as possible. And my plan was we could also go f6 at some point to further defend this pawn. And ideally, I want to get my king on h6 to blockade this pawn from infiltrating any further. But actually, in this moment, after I realized that their queen came in, I realized I didn't like this move that I did earlier because this check is super annoying. It forces the queen trade, and I don't have any other real way to block it. I could go like knight e7, but then the queen can infiltrate this way, and also this pawn could push further, and I just didn't like it. So I decided to go knight h6 here. Computer says knight f6 was best, but after these checks, though, I don't know. I mean, I guess we have two connected passers here, so that's pretty strong. So that's probably why they say this. But I mean, it's not a simple win from here, in my opinion. So yeah, I go knight h6. White infiltrates, but somehow my position is just like solid. Like the queen defends here, the knight defends here. And here I felt, okay, I need to somehow try to add additional pressure to the white king. And also, maybe I can slide in here, get some checks this way, infiltrate. So that was my plan. And here, I was pretty low on the clock, so we both had less than 2 minutes left. I can't remember if I considered it in this exact moment, the rook sack. I think I might have. This is what the computer wanted, but I didn't see the continuation that the computer found, which is that after they take, once you deliver this check, we actually pick up the knight because they can't defend anymore as a result of the pawn. So they have to move the king, and then we take with check, and it's just like pretty, I mean, it looks pretty strong. I don't see like a finish here. Actually, maybe. Yeah, bishop c4 looks really strong. How do they stop? Rook h2? That just gives up a rook. Oh, no, okay, they want... Oh, yeah, they basically have to give up a piece. They have to give up their queen. And okay, so yeah, that line was winning. I just overlooked it. So instead, I took the free pawn. But I really didn't want to take this pawn. I just didn't see any alternatives. And part of the reason is that now this rook comes in with a tempo. So all of a sudden, white's pieces are like getting mobilized, and it's looking kind of dangerous. So white is infiltrating here, and I don't really see the threat though. I decided I need my rook for the attack. Like my only thing here is I have an attack on the white king, and I feel like my king is safer. Even if white tries to like stack up on this back rank, because my knight controls the g8 square, my king is not very mateable here. Because like even if they check and I move over, they can't really deliver like the final mate. So like somehow I'm just like ultra defended here, like really crazy position. So they do go queen c8. You have to be really careful with this because you're walking into a discovered attack. And yeah, you can see the computer wanted rook takes, which I realized actually right after I played this move. I was like, oh no, wait, I have rook takes because if you take, they recapture, then you're winning the queen. But it's still not super simple from this position, I feel like. I mean, we're up 2 points of material. Computer says f3. So yeah, I guess these pawns are probably promoting. But, you know, it's not like immediately game over or anything. And if they don't take, like, let's say, I don't know what they would do. Let's just say they make a move. Then this is mate. So yeah, that would have been a very strong continuation. But in lieu of that, I decided to try to push this pawn. And also this frees up the f4 square for me to deliver a check and maybe do some other stuff here. So like I said, guys, this is a very complicated couple of games. And white was really in time trouble here, and they just went rook e6. I took, and they resigned because they were just giving up a rook for no reason. They just didn't really know like what else to do. They can't check me here because I take. And yeah, I mean, I have this pawn pushing to promote. So, you know, they could go like rook here maybe. Computer says d2 check. Seems kind of sketchy. Can't they just take? Oh, and then this infiltrates. So yeah, basically game over. But yeah, like I said, guys, very complicated one. But this game, as a result of winning, it pushed us up to 1699. I'm going to call that 1700. And I think we're on a really good rhythm right now to maybe make it to 1800 fairly quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed these games. Give me some feedback if you liked this format of me reviewing the games. I tried to make it shorter, but I realized I still probably talk too much, so this will probably be like a 40-minute video. But yeah, let me know if you like these ones or if you like the live games better where I'm playing the actual game live in front of you. Thanks so much for joining me on the journey, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.